In Season 1, we made the playoffs. Granted, we weren't as high of a seed as we should have been, but we made the playoffs, only to lose to San Jose. Season 2, we made the playoffs. We won the Western Conference. We were the top team in the West, and we lost to Chicago in the first round. It's becoming a negative and soul-crushing trend, even though the series is still in the early stages. In this episode, we build the team for Season 3, which scares me because I don't know what we're going to do here necessarily. What I do know that we're going to do is we're going to sim to the end of the postseason, of course, and then we'll take a look at everything. But I don't know what we necessarily have planned moving forward as far as how we're handling the draft, as far as how we're handling free agency. It really is a wait-and-see kind of thing for us, which maybe will be beneficial, maybe not. Who the hell knows? The game plan hasn't exactly worked so far, has it? We end up making the playoffs in year 1. We add Justin Williams to the team and we lose. And then Season 2, we're great and we don't add to the team and we lose. What do you even do? What do you even do? But we are in a very weird spot, of course, moving forward. Marc-Andre Fleury's on the team. The Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms win the Calder Cup, so I guess this episode is starting off on a bit of a bright point, I guess, maybe. I consider it a bright point, at least. We'll take a look at the bracket. The Bruins ended up beating San Jose in 6. I'm now disappointed if Joe Thornton was still a Shark. That's just upsetting. Although Boston beat Toronto in 7, which, I mean, of course they did. That's just the way it goes. And then down in the AHL, Lehigh Valley beat the San Diego Gulls in 7. So 6 in the Stanley Cup Final, 7 games in the Calder Cup Final. We'll take a look at the Cup-winning team, as we always do. And I mean, one last look at our team. I mean, say what you want. Again, we kind of know where to point fingers. I mean, Thomas Tatar, you did so well, and then didn't. I mean, Cody Eakin, you did so well, and then didn't. Defensively, it was, I mean, the plus-minus of Theodore McNabb, good lord. And then, and then, of course, Oscar Dansk at the end of the season would have been sent back down to the AHL. But let's take a look at a winning combination, shall we? The Boston Bruins, and good lord, that top line. Top line delivered. DeBrusk had 21 points. It's the same team you would have expected. Senyshyn made the club. Christopher Stieg back in Boston, where he was drafted. Strangely enough, wins a cup there. Brian Boyle. Those are the only 2 additions for Stieg and Boyle. On defense, it's exactly what you would expect, especially now with Chara retired. The goaltender, Tuukka Rask, Stanley Cup champion, as is Yaroslav Halak. How weird would it be for Halak to win a cup in Boston? Could happen. Maybe. Hopefully. Please. Tampa wins the cup in year 1. Boston in year 2. So the Atlantic Division right now dominant. Toronto won the President's Trophy. Didn't help him out all that much, being in such a tough division. The Art Ross goes to Patrick Kane. The Hart to Phil Kessel. Erik Karlsson wins the Norris. The Lady Byng to Phil Kessel. The Calder goes to Tolvin. No real surprise. The Conn Smythe to Tuukka Rask. The Vezina to Pekka Rinne. The Jennings as well to Rene and Saros. Ryan Murray wins the Masterton. Bergeron the Selke. The Ted Lindsay to Phil Kessel. And the Rocket Richard to Patrick Kane. Down in the AHL, Dal Cole put up the most points. League MVP was Mark Letestu. The top goal scorer was Dal Cole. Outstanding rookie was, I believe it's Nick Henry. He's our player, but it's Nick Henry. I think it's Nick. He might be on the team next year, matter of fact. So there we go. The best rookie in the AHL. Dan Hamhuis was the best defenseman. Best goaltender, Alex Stalock. MVP of the playoffs, Carter Hart. And not to mention some of the other awards, including Nick Hague being the best community man, and Rudolph Balcers, I mean, you know, the most recent Ottawa Senator, or at least one of them. So that brings to a close Season 2. I don't think we've really forgotten to touch up upon anything, aside, of course, from the progress reports. As mentioned, we'll see how everything goes down in this episode. I don't have a set plan for it. Jet Wu with that ridiculous development. Cody Glass is an 80. You're looking at 2 NHLers next season. Of course, Nick Holden, a little bit of development there, but I mean, he's going to be gone. Anyway, Nick Suzuki, a good amount of development. it could be a somewhat different team heading into next season. Kolsar with some decent development. Ben Jones as well. Good improvement for Gregory Roach, by the way, up to a 68 now at 19 years old. Dwyer as well, also up to a 68. Bouchard, 7th D potential kind of hurts, but as we'll scroll through the rest. Bembridge up to a 67. And from there, we're pretty much good to go. There are some points here and there. Riley up to a 60. I suppose the big thing here is our favorite German, and that's Sebastian Nold. He's up to a 52 at 19 years old. And here's the thing. If he was 17 years old and a 52, I'd be pumped. I don't know. He's still our best bartering piece at this point in time. Does he end up getting moved? Maybe, maybe not. I suppose the first step, though, in deciding that is the lottery results. So let's go ahead and move forward and see what the breakdown's going to look like as Calgary ends up with the number 1 pick. Of course, we do not have a pick in the top 15. We'll get our final look at the draft class. There is the franchise level player. Lafreniere's there. We do have a couple of guys in the DEL and Extra Liga that we don't have info on. It's not as if we really need it, though. We're not going to have a pick in that range. In terms of gems and busts, good lord, the amount of gems, that is ridiculous. Pretty crazy amount of busts as well, so a good amount of feedback there from our scouts. Retired players, who is hanging them up? But Joe Thornton indeed lost in the Cup final to the Bruins. That's bad. That's bad. Patrick Marleau, Scotty Hartnell, and company, I'll call it a career. Defensively, Kevin Bieksa, the most points among those players, which is weird, isn't it? Like Ron Hainsey, under 300 points in 1,100 games. Just seems crazy to me. Goaltenders, Gustafsson, the monster, calls it a day as well. As trade block wise, I think I'm just going to open up the block to see what offers we get. And maybe we do end up getting a somewhat interesting offer. Maybe we get an offer for some smaller pieces for lower end picks. I've had terrible luck in terms of just getting offers during the draft so far at 19. So we'll see how this goes. Fingers crossed. So it's like I wouldn't be against trading like a Jake Dotchin for like a 6th. Give me anything just to get rid of that contract at this point. Although, again, he's still not a bad depth option, but the emergence of Jet Wu, of course, has made Nick Holden, not worthless, but expendable would be the right word. I like Nick Holden. That's what I'm saying. I'm not taking shots at Nick Holden. Anyway, we're good to go, I think, hopefully. Can you tell I'm a little bit anxious and nervous for this episode? Because I'm not knowing what to do. I don't have that set plan as mentioned. All I can do is jump into the draft. Let's do this. Let's see what steps we can take moving forward here as Taves and Johansson are on the block. What do we have draft pick wise? As far as the general theme of the team goes, actually, before I look at the draft picks, we're not going to be able to trade Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, he's here, so we have to stay competitive and try to win in that window, because that's going to be a very tough deal to move. We do have the extra 2nd from Pittsburgh, and that is pretty much it. An extra 5th as well, and we don't have our 7th. So, still not too bad. We have the 26th pick of the first round. Right. As far as trading up as well, I think the only way we'd be able to do so is if we use Nold. But there's no guarantees that anybody in the top 5 is going to want to trade anyway, so we might not be able to pull this off. I know it's Calgary. Who's next? Montreal and the New York Islanders. We might as well check, right? Even though I scrolled right past Calgary. There's no way they're going to want this deal to work out anyway. Calgary, yeah, they don't want to trade their first. Montreal, nope. And the New York Islanders, absolutely not. So we'll probably just stay put. I think we'll sim to our selection here, and we'll see how this goes. No trade offers, but since I know people are going to be interested, Lafreniere is a Hab. So there you go, and Calgary gets a franchise Finnish playmaker. So who's on the board for us at 26th? Yikes, it's slim pickings outside of Justice Kane, which, man, our scouts really let us down. We didn't scout out Germany or the Extra Liga all that well, and it shows. It shows. We do have the Norwegian, though. 17-year-old Justice Kane played 50 games in Liga. Definitely a bit of a project, but we know he's a medium elite. So that's probably the way to go. I mean, Stefan Schultz, we don't know anything about you. Malmi Vara, 4 points as a 17-year-old. Not enough to go off of. Eric Barabal, not enough to go off of course. And then there is the low elite Ludwig Lilia. 5 points as a 17-year-old. Has tremendous shooting already. Comparable to Keith Primo. I love that. But again, low elite. What do you value more? A medium elite or a low elite gem? That is the question. Or another low elite gem in the form of Como. I mean, Justin Barron was also listed as a gem. I mean, we have to go for the medium elite, but it's nice to know that we would have had some decent options regardless. But to me, the decision's easy. Gems and busts aside, Justice Kane is the player to go for here. We do need some more defensive prospects as well. He had a pretty good season as an underage player. Not an underage player, but as a younger player in Liga. So Justice Kane, one hell of a name, and hopefully soon to be one hell of a defenseman. He will be our first round pick this year. Still no trade offers, so we do have back-to-back selections here, the 25th and 26th picks of the second round, and we will potentially start off with Nicholas Bickle. Nick Bickle. Kent Dreger, not enough to go off of. Bickle being listed as a gem, we'll mark him down for the moment. Wyatt Wilm, not enough to go off of, really. Cody Boy, the boys. Is pretty good. I mean, Jesus, that's a hell of a point total for a 17-year-old. It's not locked in, though. And then Ty Marshall, as an 18-year-old, had 10 points. Comparable to Chara, which is obviously exciting, but not a guarantee. Xavier Clarkson also did pretty well as an 18-year-old. To anybody else, Rod Beta. This is a hell of a draft for Germans. And in fairness, our scouts kind of slipped up a little bit. Ola Olassen. No points in 25 games as a 17-year-old, but is listed as a gem as well. And yep, that's the pick. Isaiah Norton. Medium elite. Guarantees going to be more of a project, though. That's not bad, though. I thought we'd be seeing like D's, and we're not. The lowest grade's a C- on defense. Yeah, Isaiah Norton's the option. He's the only option. That is the way to go. Pretty much. I don't think that's controversial. He's a project, but he's not a major project. I mean, he's a gem, medium elite confirmed. Isaiah Norton. Let's do this. That's just our first pick. As far as the next one, who knows? But so far, so good in terms of defensive prospects that we're bringing into the club. And from there, it's probably Bickle. Probably. As far as our scouting ranks, Bickle is the highest on the list, although Marshall's not confirmed. I'd suppose it would come down to Olassen or Bickle. And, or the old Cody boys. Nicholas Bickle. Still a project, low 4, but is a gem. And as far as anybody else who was available, I think he might still be the best option. If we look at our scouts rankings right now, he is the highest listed on the board. So I think we have our guy. We're going to go for another defenseman, even if he is locked in at low top 4. He does have the gem. Nick Bickle. So it's been a hell of a draft for us so far in terms of defensive acquisitions. We haven't gotten a single offer, man. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe the trade block is just too broad. But we're in the third round. We have one pick here, and we'll see what we can do. So central scouting. Yoshimura, 19 years old. Not a ton to go off of. Gill, I mean, Dean Gill, if that's accurate, then holy hell. Probably not, though. Yeah, we're not going to be able to go off of that. Braxton Moroz, Boma. Anybody else here? You have Francis Esch, 48 points in 60 games. Distinct lack of grit, but that's okay. We have Monroe. Greg Monroe, the enforcer, maybe defensive D. That's not locked in 100%. Strength, shot blocking. He probably is an enforcer. Only 36 penalty minutes. I don't know if we want to go for that, though. Samu Asalo, no points in 37 games as a 19-year-old. No, thank you. Comparable to Grabner, so I'd imagine he has wheels, and that's about it. Is there anybody else? This is looking rough for us right now. This is looking very rough. Bennett McGillis. Still not a ton to go off of. How far down the board are we going to have to go until we're confident in a pick? Kimo Jaskalainen. No points in 16 games as an 18-year-old. Caden Goulet is there. Rhett Reinhardt. Of course, these guys are undervalued. Pierce Segal. Again, though, as a 19-year-old. Didn't exactly light the league up. Maxim Fedorov, the Ukrainian. 18 years old. Didn't have a point in 25 games. Good shot. Good skating. Low elite. Could be the guy for us. We don't have a lot of information on these guys. Rohan Festerini. Absolutely not. We have a medium starter in Boris Mayorov, who was okay, but no B-letter grades. Artem Bure, 3 points as a 19-year-old. Meh, I think is the only logical response. Pierre Beaulieu, it's just not looking good for us. Varakis, 1 point as a 19-year-old. No. Typalis, 6 points as a 19-year-old as a defenseman. Had a decent shot. Magnus Axelsson, also looking a bit rough. I don't know who to go for here. Okay, maybe I do. He's a little bit off the board, though. Novikov. Dwight Finnerty, nothing there. And then Vitaly Novikov, no points in 26 games as a 19-year-old. He's going to be such a project, though. He really is. He really is. Boucher as well. I know the clock's low. I'm aware. I don't know who to go for there. There wasn't that one. There wasn't a medium elite Chara comparable defenseman magically waiting for us. So we'll see who we have pinned here. And out of this, let's see. Right now, we're still in the top 100 in terms of central scouting rankings. And the lowest option out of who we had pinned was at 128. So we don't have to look at taking any of these guys in this round. So who does our scout have as the highest rated guy at this point? It's Boma, 87th. That's not confirmed. And then Halvardsson. So we're not going to have a ton to go off of here. I do like the fact, though, that Boma's, 6'3" at 17, had a decent point total. I wouldn't really say there's the go-to option here. I'm not really seeing it. Boma could be the guy, though. Right now, central scouting ranking, we're right about the time. Right about the time that we take him. We could just go off the board. Because otherwise, here it's best guess. Or we could look to trade down. And I really wish this game had a Madden-esque system to trade down. It'd be much, much easier. I think we might. I think we might look to trade down here. So who has... Let's just go right about here to Minnesota's pick. Why not? We'll trade down a little bit, if at all possible. For those who don't play Madden, of course, you could just be like, hey, I want to trade this pick, and it would show you all the offers that teams are willing to give you. So that would be nice. But let's go ahead and see if we can work out this deal with Minnesota. What about St. Louis's third-round pick next year and that fourth? Probably too much. Yeah, way too much. It was worth a shot at least. We'll also take... Here, I'll take your sixth this year, and not the seventh. I want a little bit more than that. I hate that the trade screen glitch is still in where you have to hit over for some reason. Let's go fifth. Fourth, fifth, and sixth for that third. Yeah, I'll take that. It's fine by me. It's fine by me. Wasn't really seeing anybody to select there. Maybe they got somebody half decent out of it. I didn't really want to go with the crapshoot of a pick, so... As far as who we have pinned now, again, it's at 102, so it's not too big of a stretch to take Maxim Fedorov here just to make sure we end up with him. So I think I will. Previously ranked 120. He's currently at 123. Good shot, good skating, low elite. Going to be a bit of a project. But Maxim Fedorov is our first forward selection in this draft, as we do get a trade offer. 4th round for a 5th round next year and a 6th round this year. I will actually do that just for how kind of average this part of the draft is looking. So that brings us into the 5th round. Bure's there, Typalis is there, Axelson was as well. Novikov, we have Boucher. So this will probably be the Novikov pick, unless we see someone else who's just crazy good. Parker Carlson, nothing really there. Anybody else? Medium bottom 6. The medium elite in Matt Zibanejad. Only played 4 games. Low 6, Sergei Lokhtianov. 1 point in 28 games as an 18-year-old. Not really feeling that. All right, I think we have our selection here, and then the rest of the way we'll probably just look at who the highest rated guys are. But I think we'll take Novikov here. Vitaly Novikov, the 19-year-old. Not the best season. Definitely more of a project, but we're going to trust the scout in that he is a gem. Hopefully that pans out for us to the end stages of the 5th round. I forgot we have an extra 5th round pick this year. Who do we got? Who do we have? Are any of our pinned players still there? They are not. So this is where it gets to be a bit complicated. But it is the 5th round, so we can go off the board if necessary. So Zibanejad there at medium elite. Again, there isn't a ton to go off of. Dallas Spiller, no points in 28 games. Will pass. Oli Sikola, no points in 10 games as an 18-year-old. And Roy Murray, 13 points in 56 games as an 18-year-old. Might not be the worst, but certainly not the most promising. Lokhtianov, not a ton to go off of. Sergei Mironov, not a ton to go off of, aside from the fact that you are a massive project. Torsten Albelin, again, nothing there. Malmi Vara, the goaltender, 890 save percentage for an 18-year-old. Mats Wheating, under 900, but he was 17. Might be worth the random shout there compared to some of these others. Yeah, it really is looking like a weak draft. So if we're going to go for anybody else, we have the 2 pinned players there who are both projected to go way down the line, and we don't have any other gems in this draft. So I think I'm going to trade down from this selection too. Not really thinking that it's worth it. We'll actually just trade down towards the 7th round, which, yeah, damn. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to try to trade all of these picks. Let's just say to Anaheim. I'll take your 7th round pick this year and see if I can get a 3rd and maybe a 6th next year, just the safety net it. Will that go through? No, it won't. What if I take out the 6th? Still no. Okay. 4th round pick? I'd be okay with. How about a 4th and a 6th? Just to check it out. So the 7th this year, 4th and 6th next year, that will go through. And I'm good with that. So we get some draft picks for next year. This wasn't looking like the most promising draft for us. Anyway, we'll end up taking one of those 2 players if either are available. Wheating is still there, as is Murray. Wheating has a higher rating in general and was previously rated 186 before he took a step back. You know what? Why not? Let's go for Mats Wheating. A little bit smaller for a goaltender, but we'll give him a chance. Again, 17-year-old, but under 900 save percentage, played in a tough league. We'll give it a shot, because I wasn't really seeing anybody else there that might have been worth it. So overall, a hell of a draft for us in terms of bringing in defensive insurance with Kane, Norton, and Bickle. With Fedorov, Novikov, and Wheating, time will tell. But I'm not feeling all that bad about that draft, and we actually ended up getting an offer. I can't speak right now. We actually ended up getting an offer to move down, which is pretty nice. Let's handle scouting first and foremost. Who is out of a contract right now? I know it just told me, but Zhao, Raymond, and Stevens. All right, well, Zhao, you're definitely coming back if I can help that. Zhao, we'll go back to contract years. We'll bring back Stevens. And I honestly couldn't. I think it was Wheating. That was the last one there. But we'll go back, and it was Raymond. Never mind. Wheating. Yeah, sure, that works. Michael Raymond. We'll bring you back. And then there's a decent chance that I end up letting go of, I gotta be honest, Stevens potentially, Hendricks as well, and Irwin. It would be nice to bring in a couple of extra European scouts, just to make sure what happened in this past draft doesn't happen. Although, kind of unexpected that this early on the draft would have been so European heavy. So Oscar Dansk is going to be looking for a new contract. Nicoya, again, we're never going to sign. There's no reason to. We're not going to bring in Havled yet or Wheating. So we still have Ferguson, Vladar. Dansk could be brought in. He's been pretty solid so far. Wants a one-way deal. It's tough because there might be someone on the free agent list who's a little bit more of a guarantee in terms of a project goaltender. And as far as the backup goes, I mean, we're still locked in with Malcolm Subban for next year. So, I think Oscar Dansk will be the guy. I think I'm going to bring him back, only on a one-year deal. We'll give him 1 by 1. It's going to be a one-way contract, too, so we might end up losing him on waivers. But I'm good to bring him back. Nate Schmidt does not want to re-sign with us. We'll try to go 1 by 5, or, 1-year deal, $5 million. We'll see how that goes. I doubt he accepts that, but it's worth a shot. John Merrill also needs a new contract. You are insane. A third pairing defenseman wanting $4 million. John, I think your time here is done, because even with the 85% trick, I'm not willing to really pay you that much. So, yeah, John Merrill is going to be on his way out here. He's asking for way too much money. So, I hate to do it, but he's on the way out. Nick Holden is also going to be on the way out. Jake Dotchin's definitely pissed about his current situation, but I don't exactly want to buy out that contract. It'd be 2 years. It wouldn't be that expensive. I'm good to keep him for a depth option. Christian Melanin can go for now. Who else do we have? Zach Whitecloud will also be on the way out. Bouchard to the medium 7th. Probably going to let go of him as well, just because of the ridiculous amount of guys we signed last year. Corcoran at medium 7th. We'll let him go. And then let's see, we have Eklund, Bickle, Kane, Norton, Wyatt Wiley still under contract. So for now, defensively, I think we're okay. It's just whether or not we can end up re-signing Nate Schmidt at right wing. Eric Holla. Eric Holla wants to come back. It's not a bad contract, and I think, again, we'll try the old 85% just to save ourselves a tad bit of money. Shouldn't be all that big of a deal. Drop it down to 2.8, save us a little bit, see if he's willing to accept that. Ryan Reeves, you've been an interesting part of this team, but how much are you looking for? Yeah, no. No. You're gone. Sorry. Absolutely not. Keegan Kolesar at 23 years old. Good to let go of you for now. We'll check out other options on the free agent list. And from there, Nold, Novikov, I think we're pretty much good to go. Left wing, who do we have? We have Carrier, who was all right, but how much money is he going to be looking for? That's not bad. He wants to return too. So, you know what? Let's look to bring him back as well. What can we drop that down to? 1,275. That's not bad for a fourth liner. I'm okay with that. Brandon Peary honestly had a pretty good season when he actually played. I wouldn't be against bringing him back if he's willing to come back as a depth option. Quinney will be on the way out, and Girard won't be signed at the moment. And then for centers, Cody Eakin and Carpenter. Carpenter, I definitely want to bring back. Yikes. He deserves it. But, man, I don't know. And a 1-year deal wouldn't drop it by all that much. Of course, we could drop that down to 1.7. We'll see if he accepts that. I'm willing to pay him that, but not a Ryan Reeves. And then Cody Eakin, he wants a little bit of term at this point. I'm not really feeling that, though. He does want to come back. See if we can get him on a 1-year deal, maybe? This is a tough one. It'd be 1.8 for Cody Eakin as well. He had a really good season. Playoffs, it was a little bit disappointing. But I wouldn't mind bringing those two back for relatively cheap. And then there's nobody else there to sign for the moment. So depending on how this goes, we should still have a decent amount of cap space. I expect some people to reject. Carpenter, Cody Eakin, Carrier accepted, Schmidt rejected, Haula rejected, Puri and Dansk are back. So about half the players, if not the majority, ended up rejecting, which isn't all that surprising, I suppose. So let's see. We have Schmidt, Haula, Eakin, and Carpenter. Right. So Nate Schmidt. 1 year. God, you are probably not worth this. You're a top 4 defenseman for us, but you are probably not worth this. But if I can get you back for 1 year and then it turns out we're slipping up a little bit, I could get rid of you. Haula still wants to come back. We'll just drop that down to 3x2. We'll see if he accepts that. He's still worth it for that price. Eakin, we'll drop that down $2 million over 1 year. Just in case, again, if things go poorly, we're not stuck with you. And same thing for Carpenter. That's a little bit of an overpayment, but he did have a really good season last year. So I'm willing to do that. And of course, not to mention, we do have the Cody Glasses and the Nick Suzuki's that can look to step up into this lineup. Carpenter's back, Eakin's back, Schmidt's back, Halla's back. So there we go. We ended up getting all 4 guys for a relatively decent price. And like I said, it's at the point where we didn't hand out any term for any of those guys. So if things are looking a little bit poor for us, we will be able to move on from them and hopefully just get whatever we can. I'd like to think that we're still going to be competitive heading into next season. But then again, I was thinking that we might be able to get out of the first round of the playoffs, and that didn't exactly work. Now did it? That didn't exactly come to fruition. So we'll see how this goes. We shall see. Goalies. Again, I'm going to just completely open up the trade block here to see if we get any interesting offers. The AI will more than likely just spam me different variations of trades for the same few pieces, as they love to do. But you never know. There may be an interesting offer. It happens every once in a while. So we'll set this up. We'll take a look at the scouting as well. Like I said, if I could bring in another European scout or 2, I would love to do so. There might be some half-decent ones on the scouting free agent list. And then we'll take a look at free agency. Like I said, this episode, it's pretty much going to be setting up the roster for next year. So let's take a look. I should be allowed to look at free agents despite having a full roster. I'm not. Okay, well, we'll take the risk then. Irwin. Buddy, you're pretty good in that grade, but there's someone better. So Irwin is going to be on the way out. Hendricks is going to be on the way out. And Stevens is going to be on the way out. So we have 3 openings, preferably for the DEL, the Extraliga, and whatever else. So we'll see who's available here. And maybe just another high-graded scout. Good Lord, Kimmo Tuomainen. That is exactly what I needed. He's good in the Extraliga. I'll take it. And the Allsvenskan. He's okay there. But Tuomainen is exactly the type of scout that I was hoping for. Persson as well. I imagine you would have the grades that I was hoping for. Oof. Okay, evaluation abilities are low. Could be sent out to Germany or Austria. God, those grades are low, though. Let me take a look here at Europe. So 2 B minuses. Is that Mats Nylander, Scandinavia? We have Persson and Kemppainen. And in Russia, Sergeyev. Oof, again, the grades there for Sergeyev. Of course, you can see it from this screen, too. Kemppainen's a little bit better. And then Europe. So I'm thinking Nylander and Kemppainen. We'll bring in Nylander. We will bring in Kemppainen, hopefully. Not the best European scouts we could have hoped for, but still half decent and will help improve things around here. Let's take a look at the free agent list, shall we? Last year we picked up Artemi Panarin. We have 7 roster spots, 11.9 in cap space, and Taylor Hall, Nicholas Backstrom, Braden Shen, Roman Josi, Michael Granlund as well, represent the top 5. We'll take a look first things first at goaltenders, which Markstrom's up to an 85, huh? Good lord. Of course, our goaltending situation isn't going to change unless we know that there's someone half decent as a prospect, which Ingram is there. He's an RFA, but he is there. That could be an interesting one because I'm not seeing anybody that's any better. And of course, age-wise, if we sort this out, there's going to be quite a few unknowns. Quite a few. Okay, maybe more than just a few. Shikadans? What? What is your name? Tom Shikadans. The Shikadans. I should sign him just for the name. So yeah, in terms of who we look to bring in here, kind of a tough call. Tendek is there, unfortunately, again. Someone who was a bit low rated by EA. Trying to take Connor Ingram. We don't know how good he is, but that could work out. What's he looking for? He is looking for a 2-way deal. I mean, you know what? Might as well go for it. There's no way Tampa doesn't match it. Wouldn't have to give up anything. Why the hell not? See if we can get an RFA from Tampa for absolutely nothing. Defensively, in terms of prospects, Connor Hobbs is at the top of the list. Probably still an RFA with Washington. He is at 23. We don't know how good he is. We could take a look at certain stats. There's also Hardy Haman Actel. There is no way you're actually half decent. Like, there's just... I mean, you're a real player, but there's no way. There's also Caleb Jones in Edmonton, Julius Bergman. Okay. Could go for Hobbs. Of course, right now, our top 4 is locked in. Nate Schmidt isn't exactly a guarantee for the future. And we are going to have to sort some things out here. The fact that Roman Josi's there is enticing. It absolutely is. If we look at what our defense is shaping up to be for this next season, there's no doubt that we could use a player like Roman Josi. That's what we're missing, is that real gem of a defenseman. It would push a Colin Miller or a Nate Schmidt down to the 3rd pairing for now, probably with Jet Wu. So we could look to bring in a 3rd pairing defenseman or bring in a game changer and hopefully balance out Schmidt or Chiller's happiness by giving them power play and PK time, as that's going to bring me to view contracts, isn't it? Yep. All right, little bit of menu lag right there. That's unfortunate, but let's take a look at our other options here. So, I mean, prospect-wise, it wasn't looking that good. We could look to bring in, and I mean, money-wise here, it's just like, good lord. We could look to bring in a Kevin Miller. We could look to bring back a Brad Hunt. We could wait this out until guys aren't asking for that much money. Or we could just go in for Roman Josi, which I'm very tempted to. Very tempted to. That is an affordable contract for us in the interim. And of course, he's not looking for all that much. We'll take a look, though, at forwards. Evgeny Dadonov's there. Actually, here, let's just outright look at all forwards and see who we have prospect-wise. If anybody, Max Domi is an RFA. Jace Howard, I'm not really trusting that one. I'm looking more at the age here. Alexei Sorela is an RFA. Might actually be half decent. I'm not sure. I mean, we know he's locked in at medium 9, but what's the overall? Who do we have? Sean St. Amant is also there. Hinostroza, Matthew Joseph, Spencer Smallman, Baptiste. Not really all that convinced by any of these guys, admittedly. Ron Greentree. Well, we know he's computer generated. He's not asking for much. Could be worth a look. You never know. He might actually be half decent and maybe snuck through the draft somehow, some way. I'm very tempted to offer him a deal because otherwise, prospect-wise, it's not looking too good. So we'll more than likely just be filling out the roster with random AHLers. Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall. I suppose that's what this comes down to right now. The thought of getting Taylor Hall or Roman Josi, or do we save money and just bring in a random third pairing guy? If we look one more time at our current roster, right? Let's take a look here. So goaltending-wise, we know it's Fleury and Subban for next season. Subban has an expiring deal after this next year. Fleury would have that extra year. So goaltending-wise, we'll be fine if we bring in Connor Ingram. That's fine by me. Defensively, Theodore McNabb, Schmidt, and Miller. So Schmidt and Theodore have expiring deals. I can't imagine Theodore will ask for more than 5, maybe 6, somewhere in between. Dotchin's contract would be up. Like, Nick Hague's going to need a new deal. There's not going to be that much money changing hands there. And then Stashny's contract will be up, as will Thomas Tatar's and Cody Eakins. Of course, we just re-signed Eakin. So if we look at this team now, that right there is our top 6, based off of overall. You could argue that another elite winger would be nice, and I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree. It would probably push Marchessault down to the second pairing. Like, if we were to bring in a Taylor Hall, it'd probably be Panarin, Carlson, Hall, Smith, Stashny, Marchessault, with a third line of Haula, Tuck, Tatar. And then Eakin on the fourth line with Carpenter and whoever. But then you got to factor in Cody Glass, Carrier, Suzuki. I think we're pretty much good to go forward-wise. The big thing here is, do we want to spend the money going in for a Roman Josi? The one downside would be Colin Miller or Nate Schmidt potentially being pissed off about the fact that they'd be on the third pairing. But we do need a big-time defenseman. Oh, the menu lag. Oh, the menu lag. People ask me, like, hey, have you had much trouble with menu lag? And I said no. It's becoming slowly but surely more noticeable. I think what we're going to do is we are going to go for Roman Josi. He wants a 5-year deal. He would be the only legit top 2 defenseman that we were to have. It's a little bit of a rough contract because there's no guarantees that he'll take it. But cap-wise, I don't think we're going to be in that big of a spot. 6.9 over 5 years. For the memes, let's see if we can get Roman Josi for 5 years. I'm good with that term as well. Let's do it. We have the money to. We have the need. Granted, we have used him in a series somewhat recently, back with Ottawa and NHL 18. But when a player of Roman Josi's caliber hits the open market, you got to go for him, especially when it makes sense for you to go for him, just like it made sense for us last year to go for Artemi Panarin. As we do get an offer, McNabb and Carpenter, oh my God. That's an interesting one. If we were to get rid of Braden McNabb, who really struggled in the postseason, that would remove the need to have a Nate Schmidt or Colin Miller on the third pairing. We'd also be getting a first, a second-round pick, and Shushko back. That's an interesting offer, man. I mean, it would weaken our defense in theory, though. As opposed to having like a Schmidt on the third pairing, we'd have whoever else and still have Jake Dotchin as the depth. He wasn't bad in the regular season. He's still on a pretty damn good contract, too. Like, you could tell by the free agent list as it stands. Like, if Braden McNabb's on the free agent list, he's going to make close to double what he's making now. So that is a factor. Not to mention, Philly has champion status. Not to mention that they have champion status. Shushko, we don't have enough info on. And then Ryan Carpenter, you guys kind of know that I'm going to be against trading Ryan Carpenter. Granted, Carrier could be thrown in. Peary, hell, Jake Dotchin could be thrown in. Like, would you take Jake Dotchin instead? And then I could just get somebody cheaper as a depth option? You know what? This trade might be worth it alone, just for the fact that I could get rid of that cap hit of Jake Dotchin's and bring back somebody else off the free agent list. Damn. I mean, McNabb has the trade value of a Cody Glass. Nate Schmidt, though. It might not be the worst idea to use Nate Schmidt in this scenario. We just re-signed him for 1 year, and again, Braden McNabb would be making about double if we were to have him go to free agency. Now, Schmidt is a better defenseman in terms of point production. He also took more penalty minutes. Just in terms of being a true two-way, he's certainly a more offensive-oriented presence. But the cap hit, the fact that I could get something for him, or this is now the second time that he hasn't wanted to come, or he hasn't wanted to come back. If I could send Schmidt and Dotchin to Philly, get 2 decent picks out of it, and then, like I said, we could just look to bring in somebody else on defense for the season, hopefully at a cheaper hit than both of them. It's just whether or not it makes sense to do so. Because like I said then, now our defense, ideally, if we get Yossi, would be Theodore, McNabb, Yossi, Miller, Wu, and whoever the hell we were to sign as a 6th defenseman and a 7th depth option, because Nick Hague, I don't think will be ready. I'm going to hold off, because if I make this trade and Roman Josi doesn't sign, that would be a disaster. So we're going to hold off for the moment and wait to hear back from Josi, because otherwise that could really backfire. Tuomainen has signed as a scout. We get another offer for McNabb, along with a second for a first, a third, and DSP. That I'll pass on. Thank you. As we'll sim forward another day. Ingram's accepted, but I imagine Tampa will match it. 2nd round pick for Darling and a 4th. Are you insane? No. Just absolutely not. Josi, will he sign? Wow. Tampa didn't match for Connor Ingram, and Roman Josi has signed. Roman Josi's here, which gives us maneuverability. And again, somehow we end up with Connor Ingram. I can't believe Tampa didn't match that. So I'll take it. I will take it. And again, now this gives us options. This gives us options heading into this next season. We still have almost $6 million in cap space. Goaltending-wise, while we technically have one too many signed already, really than we need, I don't really trust Dylan Ferguson to develop at this point for obvious reasons, so we're looking okay. We're looking okay there. But defensively now, with the addition of Roman Josi, again, that is our top 6. There is an argument that it might be worth to trade Nate Schmidt, get something for him now as opposed to McNabb. Now, would McNabb have that much trade value if his term wasn't as good and if the salary hit wasn't as good? No. So you could also argue it would be worth getting rid of him now while his value is as high as it is. There is a legitimate argument to trade both Braden McNabb and Nate Schmidt. There's no doubt about that. Unfortunately, with who else is on the free agent list, I don't really think we're going to sign anybody now. Wouldn't really make sense to. We'd have to overpay to get them. And we'll see where Taylor Hall went, by the way. So it's like you can see what these guys are going for right now. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to sim to the preseason. I am going to stop it so I can see where Taylor Hall went. Just let me sim like a week ahead or so other signings go through. We're going to go to the preseason. We're going to see what names are still available on the free agent list once their prices have dropped. And we'll handle it from there. As Josi, what's up, buddy? You won't regret signing me. I certainly hope not. Let's be demanding. Responded favorably. Of course he did. Everybody pretty much does. So it's fine. So back-to-back seasons with a big-time free agent signing, a second, Dotchin and Carpenter for a second and spot check. I'm going to say no to that. There is a market to get rid of Jake Dotchin right now, though, too, which is interesting. So maybe it would make sense sooner rather than later to make a deal before everyone fills out their roster. As Dominic Machine was traded for Sven Andrighetto and a 6th. Signing-wise, Bellemare to Detroit, Bergman, Mike Green to Boston on a 4-year deal. Kill me. Frolik to Toronto, Condon to Philly. Wow, they tried to flip me. Oh, no, sorry, it was Darling, not Condon. My bad. Pissick to Calgary, Halak to Buffalo, Lettinen to Philly. Yikes. Schultz to New Jersey. The Bruins get Chad Johnson and Michael Neuwirth on 2-year deals each. Why? What are the Bruins doing? Granlund went to San Jose. We get Josi. Taylor Hall goes to Vancouver. All right, Taylor Hall to Vancouver, and that was that. Backstrom is still there. David Backes, Kevin Miller, Jesper Fast, John Merrill went to Boston as well. Tanev to Calgary, and Brody to New Jersey. And where someone like a Backstrom ends up, the world may never know. As we're going to move onward here, I'm actually going to remove the deal here from the trade block. Just because, again, it's not set in stone as far as what we're going to be looking to do here. We need to figure this out. Forward-wise, I think we're good. It's just the questions defensively. Do we move McNabb while his value is higher than it's ever been? Knowing that to get somebody of his caliber, it's going to be twice the money. Do we get rid of Nate Schmidt because we've barely been able to re-sign him twice now? And do we look to move on or really use that trade to also move on from Jake Dotchin, which it's not a terrible deal, but it would make sense to get rid of him at this point just to free up that little bit of extra cap space, especially if we're in a contending spot and we look to make a deal at the deadline. We'd have that extra bit of salary cap to work with. As I'm trying to stop the Sims so we can see where Backstrom went. You can't say I don't try. It's taking forever, though. There we go, August 30th. Let's take a look. So, another minor trade there, Buffalo and Arizona, signings-wise. Matthias ended up getting signed. Josh Joris, TVR to Detroit. Any other big names? Chason, Clayson, Matt Martin to the Rangers. Nathan Beaulieu to Minnesota. Anybody else? Nick Cousins, Dale Weiss, Marco Dano, Borowiecki to Boston. What are they doing? Mike Milbury must have taken over. Derek Forbort, Benoit Pouliot. And I don't see anything about one Nicholas Backstrom. We might have missed it. Possibly. Maybe. Possibly, definitely, maybe. Backstrom to Carolina on a one-year deal. Wow. So a one-year deal for Nicholas Backstrom. Right. Let's continue onward. We're pretty much there as far as the beginning of the next season goes. Like I said, forward-wise, there might be a little bit of a battle to see who makes the team outright. We might have one player too many, perhaps, especially after bringing back both Eakin and Carpenter. At least they were on one-year deals. The big question, though, is defensively, whether or not we look to move on from anybody or just keep the team together, because we are in a pretty good spot. So goaltending-wise, we know Florian Subban will be the tandem this year. We don't have exact info, on Ingram and Vladar. So let's call up those two for the moment. And then defensively, we know what we have with that top three. Let's go ahead now. I didn't end up signing any of our guys from the last year, which, I mean, I might, but when you look at it too, I mean, we'd have Dotchin called up as a depth option. We already have quite a few defensemen signed anyway, so it really doesn't make sense to bring them in. So the only thing I'm going to look to do here is just call up a couple of the options just to see what they're looking like. But we can pretty much confirm that. Whoops, that was a mistake. That's what that was. We can pretty much confirm that Jet Wu is going to make this team. I think we pretty much had that solved from the end of last season, where we saw how quickly he developed. Let's see. And in fairness, I'm definitely going to have to change something here. Walford, Tishka, you're going to be sent down because I want Bronstrom and Haig to play in the preseason. So we have our top six. Cale Fleury, unfortunately, will also be sent down. We need to see what we have with Wiley and Dylan Coughlin. So, again, the big question. Do we leave the defense as is? A potential top pairing of Yossi Theodore, McNabb and Schmidt, Miller and Wu with Jake Dotchin as the depth option. Do we leave the team as is? Knowing that it might be that much more difficult to keep Nate Schmidt at the end of the season, as it is we had to overpay him just to keep him here to begin with. It's not a terrible defense, though, if we keep it together in its current form. And again, the continued development of Jet Wu has been extremely helpful. And then forward-wise, we pretty much know what we're looking at. I mean, that's our top 10, 11, and 12 with Carrier. So we'd have Peary as a depth option, and Suzuki would probably be down in the AHL to start. But Cody Glass is going to make this team. And really, in terms of call-up options, not a whole hell of a lot we have to do. We can just leave the team as is, I would say. Send down Suzuki. Well, let's get exact info on Suzuki. Screw it. Screw it. Let's give these guys the chance in the preseason. Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Let's try to get as much exact info as we possibly can. Send down these 3. And again, obviously, I'm still going to have to fill out the roster ever so slightly. And we'll have to sign some AHL or, we'll have to sign some AHL depth, which won't be a big deal. We'll just look to bring in some veterans. And with that, that is 10, 11, and 12. Beautiful. So the preseason roster is good to go. Before we sim through the preseason just to see what some of the overalls end up being, I am going to take a look at the free agent list to see who is available. Odds are there isn't going to be anybody that is that great that we could bring in as a third pairing replacement option, which is why I'm thinking it might just be for the best to keep this team the way it is. We do still have a decent amount of cap space. We have $11 million in cap space. Max Domi is still a free agent. He's an RFA. And Evgeny Dadonov, also there. Evgeny Dadonov, also still a free agent. Funny enough. Goaltending-wise, Leonard, Howard, Evan Cormier still there, Lucas Dostal, Ian Scott, Yanni Vilvalainen. There's actually quite a few familiar names there. Goaltending-wise, I just can't guarantee that they have any half-decent potentials. And then defensively, there's nobody asking for more than the mill, which is a bad sign. So, I mean, you can see the names here. It's not going to be looking that good. There's like a Brooks Orpik, a Johnny Oduya, but it's like how far down the board are these guys at this point? So I think our defense might be locked in, unless we want to trust Roman Polak as the top option, right? It's looking pretty rough otherwise. Unless we want to rely on Trevor Daley to lead the way, our defense might just be locked in the way it is. And then again, Max Domi being there, nobody else is asking for that much outside of Evgeny Dadonov, and I believe that's probably Jacob Larson. Johan Larson, my bad. That's right, Jacob Larson, the Anaheim Ducks defenseman, of course. So those are the options. The team is set up for the preseason. Actually, I think we're going to end it here because I want that confirmation. I'm good with leaving the roster the way it is, again, outside of signing a couple of forwards and maybe one more defenseman as depth options for the AHL, which I want to give myself a little bit of time to sign said players before, of course, the whole waiver effect kicks in and all that. But overall, we had a fairly successful draft, I'd say. We end up bringing Roman Josi onto the team. So again, back-to-back years with 2 big free agent signings that at least make sense as we try to stay competitive while this window is still there. Of course, Panarin last year, now Roman Josi this year. It's just, what do we end up doing? More than likely, I'd say, we stay the course, we keep the team the way it is, and we see how it goes. Again, Cody Glass will be on the team this year, which is quite nice. Someone like Nick Suzuki will be leading the way down in the AHL, of course. Not locked in yet at a 77, but he's still looking okay. So guys, overall, that will do it for this one. Looking forward to what you have to say, what you're thinking down in the comments below. Of course, you know the deal. If you enjoyed the video, support it, support the channel, support me, and by way of supporting me, support my dog, because that's what this is for. I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit tired and a little bit stuffy. I might be getting sick. Maybe. Possibly. I'm going to stop ranting and rambling. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one where we start Season 3.